But converting that into product requires a good product management experience, and which is not available at the broad level. So which is another problem for when you say innovation and creating an IP or a product. How do you really productize? So that skill set is still evolving. But I'm seeing some positive sign, and I'll share some experience based on what I did for last two companies. My both last startup, one was in 2002, the company I sold it to BEA in 2005. I opened an office in Bombay to do some product development of the core technology, right? And the reason we could do that, because we had a couple of guys moving back from there who could really understand, okay, these are the product requirements. This is how, and you are launching a new concept, right? So it is not a very well-defined problem. It's a moving target, right? And many times, okay, you see the market is here, but then the market is not there. And you got to sustain that growth, right? And you got to sustain the team. And the point I'm trying to make here is, if you don't have that global experience, sharing that experience with the team here, it's very hard to build the product. But it's getting there because many companies are trying to build the product here right now. So the net result of there are expertise getting developed. But to start a product from the scratch will require those kind of expertise who understand how to create the product. So these are some of the points we can go through it. But I'm saying education also is very important, because for creativity, right, you need applied thinking. And when you focus on the education here, there's the industry, there's the government, there's education, right? And applied thinking is still not there. It is more like, okay, here's a problem statement, here's a solution, deliver it. So even that has to evolve. What I'm trying to lay out here is these are different components, has to come together to really develop the ecosystem which will allow the entrepreneur to create innovative products here. Okay? So these are some of the aspects of the team building.
Nitin,
Now,
this is the last slide.
okay. I think I covered probably on the business model. What is important here is I have seen companies here who talks about thinking locally, local model, and then taking it global. I think the times have changed where you got to think global because information is available, we can travel fast, we can communicate fast. So you got to think about global model from the day one, which requires domain expertise, global footprint. Because if you create a product and if you don't think about the bigger picture, anybody can copy the idea. So you will not go beyond that stage and you might get killed. So it is also very important. It's a very interesting slide. I'll just spend 2 minutes on this. And I refer to the ecosystem constantly, right? And why it is very important, right? If you look at the valley, right? There are very few very interesting building blocks here. The government funded the research in the beginning. I'm talking about the fundamental research. Okay, then you had Stanford Industrial Park, which basically started the whole evolution of technology in the valley. From that company, from that part, the 60 companies came out, right? But if you look at today, right, you got the whole evolved ecosystem, and it's a software, it's a hardware. I have taken Facebook as the last example, right? But imagine how much Facebook can give business to the hardware companies, right? Think about Applied Material, right? You all know that name. And Valley's got now 8 or 9 solar startups. Most of them came from the Applied, right? What I'm trying to say here is, how venture creates venture. So one of the examples I want to highlight here is the SRI. SRI is a research institute in the Valley, right? But they are not just only focusing on fundamental research. It's applied research where they get funding to produce something very tangible. They produce mouse, they produce many, many breakthroughs, right? So when you look at the ecosystem, you need the government support to fund certain innovation for long term. You need fundamental research. You need applied research, which I feel quite missing here in many ways. And you need industries who can spend a lot of money on R&D. And I think the R&D money has to go up. So if all of those things are integrated properly, then you create the ecosystem which will allow entrepreneur to think about the product and think about how to take it globally. And I think then the VCs are there. There is enough capital available. I don't see a problem with the capital. It's how do you create the right model, right IP, and take it to the market. So bottom line is, can you create the ecosystem which will allow ventures to create ventures. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nitin. Glad you focused on how do you build the ecosystem and how do you build the company. And you have built three of them, and I sincerely hope that now you move to Nitin Bhai's side, and you start becoming venture capitalist at some stage, because one of the problems that you said, that not enough companies are getting funded in India, that sort of starts changing.